Today we'll be having a little art class, and the topic of our art will be the evolution among populations. So before we get started with our pieces, everyone needs to get out a piece of paper and whatever colors you want to use, and I'll be bringing you through the process. But before we're able to make the art, we need to understand what we're drawing about. So we'll be going over some vocab words. First, we have population genetics. This is genetic variation within a population. It recognizes the importance of quantitative characteristics. Species are a group of the population whose individuals have the ability to interbreed and produce fertile offspring. Then bigger than species is the population, which is a localized group of individuals in the same species. The gene pool is simple, it's just all genes in a population. Microevolution is a small-scale change in a gene pool, as where macroevolution is the large change over time. Genetic drift are changes of a gene pool in a small population due to chance. Start out by drawing 8 flowers and make all of them one color except one flower, which will be your recessive color. In your picture, you are now able to see that the vast majority of the flowers are purple or have the dominant phenotype showing. So when these flowers reproduce, they will create all purple flowers, which reduces genetic variability. And this can be shown through your picture by cutting out a small square of white paper and covering up that one red flower with a purple flower. Now your art piece shows the reduced variability that occurred because of the genetic drift, because not all of the flowers could reproduce. So now there is no red flowers left in the population. The bottleneck effect is caused by disasters that drastically reduce the size of the population and change the characteristics within that new smaller population. To make this piece of art, you're going to draw a big bottle with a ton of little circles or marbles in it of different colors. You can choose as many different colors as you want as long as there's a repetition of all of those colors. And you'll draw this bottle upside down with a small cup underneath it. So here is my bottle and my cup, and the slim bottleneck symbolizes a drastic event occurring that cuts out part of the population, and the marbles in the bottle are my population. So next, in the inside of the cup, you will draw a few of the marbles that are closest to the edge of the bottle. And this shows the surviving population, and it may be different than the original population, but that's okay because that is what the bottleneck does to populations in nature. Here is your final picture of the bottleneck effect, showing the smaller and less variable new population. The founder effect is genetic drift into a new colony. The founder effect is very similar to the bottleneck effect in that there is a new, smaller population created. Gene flow is the genetic exchange due to fertile individuals migrating. A mutation is simply a change in an organism's DNA. Geographical variation is the difference in structure between populations, and this happens as a result of environmental factors. Now there's 3 types of selection we will be making art for. The first one is stabilizing selection, and this favors common phenotypes in the selection. The next is directional selection, where members of the population migrate to a new place or all migrate to one area. And the last type of selection we will be talking about is diversifying selection, which is when environmental selection favors individuals on both extremes of a phenotype range. So this one will deal with a culmination of all of the selections. So we'll have stabilizing selection, directional selection, and diversifying selection. And we just went over those definitions, so you should understand what these pictures are showing when you draw them. So to get started, in the end, you'll be drawing 4 curves. So for your first curve, it's going to be a normal bell curve. If you don't know what that is, I'll show you my example and it should make sense. And you can color that whatever color you want. It's just gonna kind of be to make it look pretty. I'm gonna do mine in a few different colors. So next our next graph will be showing stabilizing selection. So you're gonna draw the same bell curve but shrink it, so it's going to be skinnier than your first bell curve, and then you're going to draw your normal bell curve the same shape that you drew your first one in dotted lines. So the skinny bell curve will be showing the new stabilizing selection where the extremes were cut off. The next curve will be showing directional selection. So you'll be drawing the same bell curve just to the right or to the left. And remember to keep that dotted line to show your original population, and then your new colorful bell curve will show where it's moved to. The final type of selection is diversifying selection. So in this one, you'll still have your original dotted bell curve, but then you'll have a 2-hump curve, and if that doesn't make sense to you, you can see it in my example. And this curve shows when the two extremes are chosen rather than the average in the middle. Your final product should look something like this. You can decorate the curves in different ways, but this shows all of the different types of selection that we have covered. I hope that these art projects helped you understand the different ways that populations are able to evolve.